What's going on, guys? Welcome to a new episode of Shaws and Kings. It's your boy Shaheen out here with Keith and Weapon X. And this is actually going to be our last episode before 2021. We know we all had like such a wonderful year. um eh,
Fantastic.
Oh yeah.
yeah. So I figured that we would have this last episode this year to kind of reflect. We're each gonna kind of reflect on our lives, um and also just how it relates to everything. And um yeah, so look, 2021's in 3 days. And I think, we call the show Shaws and Kings because ultimately, what at least me, like what I hope to do is for each person who's listening, I want them to get some sort of insight on something. And I want them to kind of feel inspired to walk on their own path in life and not follow anyone else's path, and be ultimately a free person, right? A free, fulfilled person, right? Like I want people to kind of listen to this podcast and get inspired to do that. And the way I see things sometimes is that you inspire people by just setting an example. So like I've gotten a lot of messages this year, specifically in 2020, where people DM me and they're like, "Yo, Shaheen, like you putting out music inspires me to go do this with my life," and or something like you doing music really inspired me to look more into my culture. And some of these people aren't even Persian. Like I had this like a few weeks ago, this white woman, I'm like in her late 30s. Yeah, I know her name, but I'm not gonna say it. And she's like, like seeing the way you are really makes me want to take an ancestry test and really start to identify and connect with my old roots. That's something I feel like I've done that with a lot of people this year, and I'm pretty proud of that. And I think part of our journey as human beings is becoming the best versions of ourselves that we possibly can be, so other people can see us and then they kind of uh they get inspired to do something similar, right? So it's the end of the year, and it's December 29th. And this is actually, like, it's funny that we're doing this episode now because exactly 3 years ago on December 29th, it's 11:11 p.m. And probably exactly around this time 3 years ago, I was at a party, and on December 29th around 11 p.m., and something bad happened between me and some girl. And I'm not going to get into the details of that, but it kind of fucked me up for a long time. And it kind of, I had to do a lot of soul searching. I had to kind of figure out what was missing in me that allowed a situation like that to happen. And it made me kind of take my martial arts more seriously at that time. I was hitting the gym more. And that's actually soon after that, like less a month or two after that. This was like beginning of 2018 now. Like I started dropping weekly verses on Instagram, right? Keith was there for that. And just every single week dropping verses. And now at the end of this week, I'm actually about to drop episode 88. So I mean, yeah, there have been some weeks I've obviously have taken off because I've been promoting other things, but I would say that honestly, that happening to me was when I actually started taking my music career seriously. Not that I thought I was taking it seriously before, but once I was like in a deep amount of pain, that's when I really buckled down and just grinded, right? And that was exactly like that. And that cycle all started December 29th, 2017. Uh, and now 3 years later, I look back and I'm like, wow. So it's a crazy ride, right? Like now, I have a platform. People like my shit. I inspire people. People are, they see my shit and, they get some pumped up, which is like wild to me. um that specific girl that has reached out to me several times since then. And we've made our peace. So nothing personal against her now. Back then, yeah, but now we're good. But it's a crazy journey, man. And then and now it's 2020, and what's crazy is I think this is something that everyone's experiencing, and we talked about this a couple episodes ago, but we're all on this path of improving ourselves. And I know it's even funny because we even talked about self-improvement and how some of it's bullshit, but we're all trying to become the best versions of ourselves. And then 2020 might have kind of uh, slowed us down on our path. We have a certain destination, and we've hit traffic in 2020, right? Uh, if you're, whether it's fitness, whether it's, you want to work on certain things about yourself, socializing. Um, if you're a musician, you wanted to go out and do shows, can't really do that as much now. So whatever path that anyone is on, like it's hit some type of roadblock. My relationship with a girl ended this year. I would probably say, the pandemic, right? That probably was a big reason. And so I think with 2020, a lot of people who are trying to become the best versions of themselves kind of just, it was definitely not a great year. That being said, I also think it's kind of an opportunity to look back and really reflect, because it also kind of forced a lot of us to sit home and really um, analyze our insecurities a little bit, because I think sometimes in this grind culture that we're in, this hustle, this culture of hustle, uh, sometimes I feel like we try to grind our problems away, or we try to sort of distract distract us from the pain that we're in by just working hard. And a lot of people, obviously, and we talked about this, but like a lot of people aren't used to that. So like, I mean that like a lot of people aren't used to not grinding away from their problems. So now we don't really know. A lot of people just don't know what to do at this point. So I do have my hopes up for next year. I know there's a fucking mutation out in London, and I know the first case just hit America today, officially at least. But I'm gonna try to be hopeful for next year. I'm trying to balance optimism with realism. Even my realism is more positive, but I think you need to have a balance. And yeah, I'm gonna let you guys talk now.
All right. Are you sure it was that girl a few years ago, or was it stuffing the homeless guy's shit in Philly that really like got you started on your journey?
Oh my god. I would,
I
if we're being
I gotta
real,
get filled in
God.
on this.
yeah, I mean, if we're being real, I probably wouldn't have stepped on that guy's shit if it wasn't for that girl, because of how ungrounded I was during that entire trip. So, uh,
Oh
yeah, so
God.
it was all that girl.
I got you. All right. Oh, where to begin with 2020? I actually do think it was a great year for me personally. I'm not even being sarcastic. In a lot of
Okay.
ways, it was. I mean, it was isolating, yes, and didn't get to do the same things that I normally do, but also got to realize that I don't need to do any of those things really. They're kind of just superfluous activities that don't.
Yo,
Nope. I think we lost.
we just lost
We lose
Farnoosh.
Farnoosh.
All right, yeah, we did. But no, go on. Keep
Yeah. Like the beginning of this year, I had all these trips planned with with you and me. We're gonna go head out to California at some point this
That's
year.
right.
Originally, with our friends Chris and Mike, I was planning on going to like Poland, Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia for like a trip. Um, I was planning on doing like solo trips to Cape Verde and some other places, and unfortunately, those didn't end up happening. Earlier this year, I had Shaheen knows more about this than Farnoosh, but he's not on anyway. But right now, but there was somebody who like my friends told me I should ask out, and she ended up giving me her number, and then she just randomly ghosted me out of nowhere when I thought
Ooh,
things were going well.
okay.
And that wasn't that difficult to deal with just because I've had it happen so many times before. But with the isolation, it was just kind of like
Yeah.
more reflective than it normally is.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's just a lot of time to myself to like important. And yeah, I don't know. I found it to be a very reflective year, and it wasn't
Hmm.
nearly as like I wasn't like scared of COVID, like at all throughout it. I was just kind of like, if I get it, I get it. I'm still gonna live my life and wear a mask and do shit if I need to do, but I'm not gonna like let it control me, you know. But I'm also
Yeah.
not gonna go like cross country or take a trip around the world either right now.
Is there any?
Um,
Are there anything? Is there anything about yourself that you're comfortable sharing on the podcast that you've learned about yourself, or something that you realize maybe you should change, or maybe or maybe like realize some of your gifts or strengths of in 2020, like what's working, what's not.
um, well, 2019, I kind of got out of shape for the first time in a while, and 2020, I was originally planning on like getting back in the gym and like getting in shape again. And I kind of realized that I don't really care if I get back in shape again. I'm not really that concerned about it. Um, yeah. Uh,
Is that now? Do you find that like an I don't know, like empowering? Like, oh, like I don't need to
not,
like not like when you
yeah.
say in shape, like are you talking about like you don't care if you like go from where you are now to like obese, or like or do you mean like uh
I
I
don't
don't care
care if
if
I'm
I
not
look
like jacked as fuck anymore
okay.
that way.
Okay.
Like,
Yeah.
like
Cuz
I
I
was in like 2018.
okay.
You know what I
Cuz
mean?
I was going to say, man, like if you're like, yeah, I realize that I'm totally fine with like just letting go and like
Oh no, no, no.
completely,
Yeah.
eating McDonald's every day and shit like that, I'd actually be concerned, man. I'd be like, wait, fuck, like this is not a good year for you.
Yeah, it's actually funny. I eat more junk food when I'm in shape than I do when I'm not in shape.
Hmm.
But like when I'm really in shape, that's when I really feel like I need a Big Mac. Like, but like right now, I could care less.
Yeah, man,
Um,
I haven't had a Big Mac in a while, man. This is not advertising for McDonald's, by the way,
yeah,
but
even though it is the eighth healthiest fast food restaurant in the country, just
The eighth.
putting that out there. I think
what's the healthiest?
Panera is the first. Allegedly, I
Okay.
don't know who paid for that study though.
Yeah.
um,
Uh,
as far as like getting to know myself better through this, um, I don't know. I used to, well, I can't say I used to. I still do. Like, I've always had a lot of like negative self talk or like assumptions about, um, like for instance, in relationships, like before any woman can reject me, I reject myself. Like,
okay.
I assume rejection, and that way it like completely detaches me from things, and I don't have to give a shit about it.
Okay.
Um, and throughout this, like for one, I wasn't like meeting people obviously because it's pandemic, but I was spending actually less time worrying about that stuff. Like I probably spent less time on like Tinder and Bumble and all that shit than I have in any other previous year since I've gotten a smartphone. Um, and just kind of like lived without those things impacting anything or uh, really affecting like how I do things. Um, and like not going out and things like that. I realized like I don't really need to be doing that anyway. It's not like it never really served me in the first place. I would do it because my friends wanted to do it, but like now I'm kind of like when I get invited to things, it's just kind of like why, like why do I need to go out and
Yeah.
do shit.
And again, like, and that's different for everyone because, as you know, we're all on our own path and it depends on what you want to accomplish for yourself. So, for example, if somehow like you going out, for example, clubbing, or, you know, getting fucked up and stuff, like, for some people that does serve some type of purpose in their path, right?
Mhm.
And that's totally cool. But if it just doesn't resonate with you and you feel like, you know, you're just going just to make some, you don't want to say no to someone, right? Like I used to do that. Like
You
I used
broke
to
up.
get, okay. Do you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay.
What were you saying now?
Technology is not being our friend today.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah. Um so I was just saying, like, I used to do that where I would go to, you know, like someone would just like invite me to go to like a club or a bar, and I just didn't want to say no to the person, so I would go. And then when I went, I would just have a miserable ass time, right? Keith, I sent you like a meme today,
Yeah.
and I think like you, yeah. So it was kind of like about that. It's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
it's like, yo, like I don't really want to be here. I don't really like. I feel like I don't fit in here, and being here, I feel like it does not help me become the strongest version of myself. It does not help my music career. It does not help my relationships, right? It doesn't, you know, it's just a complete waste
Mhm.
of time. And, you know, just being
Right.
in, you know, being, you know, and so, you know, I've learned to just, and this was probably even before 2020, but I've learned to say no, if I don't want to do something. You know, like you can go, you go ahead and do it if
Yeah.
that's your thing, but like I'm good, you know?
Mhm. And like sometimes, if, whether it's the pandemic or anything else, if like somebody doesn't want to do something, or if you feel rejected by like somebody doing something, it's not necessarily about you. Like a lot of times when people do shit, it's about something they have going on. And that's another thing like I learned kind of during this pandemic. It was actually funny because after I got ghosted, I started getting all these recommendations in YouTube for this this like dating coach, but it
Mm,
wasn't pickup. It was about like attachment styles and like different ways people like go about relationships based on the traumas they had as children. And it was
yeah,
actually really interesting to like look into because I started realizing like, oh, maybe she's not a piece of shit. Maybe this is why these things were happening. And this is what I did based on my own attachment style that was not right, maybe. Like shit like
yeah.
that. It was interesting.
I mean,
Um,
ultimately, we carry every single one of us carries our past traumas into like the next relationship, and it just keeps going on and on
right.
and on until we pass it on to our children, and then our children like pass it on, and that becomes a vicious cycle. You know, like I believe that,
Yeah.
um, you know, like I believe that human history is just one big massive fuck up of, maybe that sounds cynical, but it's just like one big massive fuck up of us just teaching our children the wrong shit by mistake, and now here we are,
Hmm.
right? I mean, yeah, technology has
Yeah.
improved and we're living comfortably great, but I mean, I feel like
We have new ways to fuck up.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And like what was something else? Somewhere else I can go with this. Like we were talking about like some people need to get fucked up and that's part of their journey, right?
yeah,
Um for me, like it's always been a dichotomy for me because I would have all the negative self-talk from myself to me, but most people I like interacted with in the world liked who I was as a person or like wanted good things for me. So it was kind of like I had these two completely different things. Like it was like I hated myself and everyone else loved me, and it was like it was weird to deal with. Like trying
mm,
to sort that out. And it all came to a head kind of in like 2013, I would say, and I haven't really figured out how to make it work outside of this situation. But like when I did the study abroad thing in New Zealand for 2 weeks, I was literally like everyone there's favorite person, and yet I hated myself. and I was drinking a bottle of whiskey a night there, like, and like not understanding what was happening. And I just remember being confused as fuck. Like, am I lying to these people? Am I actually being my authentic self right now? And then like later on, I realized that was me being my real self for the first time. And like, I
While you
haven't
were
been able
drunk.
to. I haven't been able to. No, no, no. Even before, even when I wasn't drinking, but like, I think I was drinking that much because I was felt like I was lying to myself, and like I was trying to just like block it out so I keep enjoying the time there. Um, but since coming back, like I haven't really had that same experience here. Like I don't know how to
Yeah.
like people call it like a
It,
liminal state or something like that. It's like a flow state-ish type of thing.
yeah. 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 Yeah.
Um, like coming back here, it was like that was suddenly gone again, and then it was like, well, what the fuck do I do now? And that's when I started like getting into more of the self-development stuff, trying to figure it out.
Yeah. And I think, on one hand, it was great that you recognized like how like the best version of you looked like because you saw it in 2013. And I think like when me and you both went to that meditation camp 2 years ago or 3 years ago now, or almost
Mm-hmm.
3 years ago, it I think you also got a glimpse of it there. But I think it's also important not to like put a certain version of yourself on a pedestal and try to chase the feeling that you had in 2013 or at Grounding Man, right? Uh,
Right.
because then I feel like the more you chase it, it just runs away. Kind of like that feeling will like run away, or that version of you that you're trying to like uh embody. It'll
Mm-hmm.
just be harder and harder to uh embody because you're constantly trying to feel that again. um yeah, kind of like a girl, right? It's like the more you chase her, the more she'll push you away, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, so that's just my 2 cents on that. But Farnoosh, it's 2020, man. uh
It's almost over.
yeah, it
I
is.
mean,
This is the year we met.
yeah, it definitely is. And the weird thing is, I know everybody's throwing up their memes. I know everybody's kind of had it with this year. For the most part, I'm not going to say I don't feel that sentiment to a certain extent, but I'm not going to lie. Um, as much as this has been a shitty year all around for the entire world, and that it's had its down moments for me personally, I can't say that this year, I guess maybe it was my approach to it. I can't say it was totally fucked for me. I really can't, because to give perspective, because I noticed that the both of you are revisiting some prior years prior to 2020 and leading up to it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to go too far back. I will say that I've had some shitty years in the 2000s. I've got a few years on you both, so like a little bit more
Nah.
on that journey of life. Not too much though, but but so I've gone through some periods. You've mentioned drinking. I've gone through that too. I've had days, and we could revisit that for
Mm-hmm.
another episode, because I feel like I'd have more input and it'd just be like taking away from this episode. But to give you perspective, in 2000, I want to say Christmas Eve, 2017, I was out and I was a Lyft driver. This was probably my last Lyft ride.
2017.
Yeah, Christmas Eve is about maybe just after midnight, if I can remember correctly.
Christmas Eve
I,
2017.
yeah, and
Huh.
I'm driving down PCH. I'm trying to make money so I can make up for, the Christmas presents that I may give people. Try and make up for some, lost funds. Part of my grind is always staying busy. For the last couple of years, I've been doing multiple jobs. There's always been my day job, and there's always been something else. And then there's been music on top of that as well. The grind that doesn't pay me enough, but is more satisfying than anything else. So I'm driving. I have 3 passengers in my vehicle. I'm on the clock, and PCH, for those who don't know or don't live in California or not familiar with the West Coast, it's a highway that runs along the Pacific Ocean. So it's right there by the beach. There are cliffs, and people tend to race down this road like it's nobody's business, like it's a racetrack. To the chase, I was hit really, really bad by another vehicle. Thankfully, my passengers were okay. There was a long, drawn out situation with that as well. Again, I'll set that to the side for another day. But the vehicle hit me head on. If you're familiar with the positioning of the car, for anybody who's wondering, there's the door where the driver steps in, and you're sitting there, and there's your left side. The entire car hit me full force, probably going at 80 miles an hour, 90 miles an hour, hit me straight on to where the car door folded over.
Yo, we lost you.
Oh, yeah, you froze up.
Finish. Yo, this fucking internet, man. I swear to God. Oh,
And
dude,
just yeah, I'm back.
sorry, dude. Yeah, we lost.
Yeah,
No, I
it
know.
stopped. It stopped when you were saying that you got hit at 80 miles per hour and the car door folded. Is that what you
Yeah,
were saying?
I figured, and yeah. So anyway, the car folded over my lap, so it's like I'm kind of stuck. Um, and mind you, if it probably wasn't for the airbag, I wouldn't be on this podcast today. The whole thing like just hit me. The car hit me so hard that it passed me. It went towards a cliff while my car spun out. The other car goes, slides up a cliffside, and then flips over. Um, and
Shit.
it's on its top. The 2 passengers that were in the other vehicle, they got taken out. The EMTs came, the ambulance, and they got taken out. They were done. I mean, they're not dead, but thankfully. But
Mhm.
the crash did more damage to them probably.
Yeah, you kind of froze again. What the fuck?
Okay.
Nope, he's back. I think audio's back.
All right. Okay.
Okay. Seems like I'm back. And
Okay.
I think I got cut off where I said, they take them out in an ambulance and so forth. Mine is, despite the fact that the thing hit me at full force, I walked out of there. The only real damage, other than some pain, was a scratch on my neck, and that was actually really a burn from the burnt airbag. The fact that I walked away from that kind of already kind of set my head straight on trying to not be so negative about life and try and piece my life together slowly but surely from the mess that I had made, all the years prior. So I started doing other things, to fix my life. And one of the things that I had to do, and I had to make a decision, was back in 2019, last year. Um, I had suffered from years and years of undiagnosed and then finally diagnosed, but couldn't do anything about it because I had no health insurance, sleep apnea. I
Yep.
went through a surgery that could have affected. I mean, they did a number of things. I no longer have a uvula. Um, they took out my tonsils, the secondary tonsils, drilled, um, little spaces in my nose so I could breathe better, fix my septum. But it was affecting me to the point where oxygen was being deprived in my brain. And if I would have
Mhm.
probably sat with that a couple of years more, it probably would have killed me. And back even before, when I knew what was going on, before this accident, I didn't give a shit. I was kind of like, if I die, I die. Life happens. Cycle.
Mhm.
But that changed my whole perspective. So I eventually did all the things necessary to get approved for a surgery, and I had my surgery. One of the things I had to deal with was the fact that there was a risk that my voice would not be the same, or it would affect my, that I created music. Long story short, I went through the surgery. It was really painful, and complications afterwards. Um, a lot of pain. Went through about a month of not even being able to eat solid food. Just drank for 2 weeks. I ate nothing. I was 1 week. I was purely on IV, and I told myself that it didn't matter. I was gonna do whatever I needed to do for my health, and then afterwards worry about getting back into shape for with music and everything. Fast forward now to 2020. 2020, I'm thinking, okay, I'm gonna get my shit together. I'm gonna come back from this. I work even the months prior. I'd been working on my vocals, getting myself back in rapping shape, but still in the back of my head, I'm thinking, am I ready or not ready? I never got a chance to test it out really, because as soon as I started getting in that shape where I felt like I was gonna be able to perform live for people again and go out there and do what I love doing, 2020 hit. 2020, as a result, yeah, initially it depressed me because I'm here thinking like I did all this work, but now I'm being deprived of a lot of things that I was hoping that I was going to do. Call it a comeback, if you will. Um, also, couldn't work some of my side hustles, so I had all this time to sit there and think about things like you guys had mentioned, and we all have mentioned in different podcasts, including the COVID one. But the main thing was I had to, during this time where I had to reflect, I had to reformulate my approach, not just to, music or work, but to life. I had to look at this as kind of an opportunity to do different things. And that's kind of what I'm thankful for out of the 2020, aside from the disaster. I mean, you could call it maybe the beginning of a phoenix rising, if you will, because I gotten, I did do a lot more social media networking that led me to come into contact with Shaheen and eventually yourself, Keith. And we got a
Mhm.
podcast. So I'm really thankful for that. I'm thankful that we got that going down. It caused me to look at my career and my life and wonder if I was happy where I was at or if I needed to do more things and take more steps to go in another direction so that I could fund my art and do things. I went out and I eventually got a certificate to be a human resource consultant. I'm gonna end up pursuing that in 2021. I
Yeah,
was losing my
congrats.
mind
Yeah.
for a minute. Thank you. I was losing my mind for a minute, as Shaheen knows, and I don't know if I would have done it or what 2020 drove me to do. Um, I still don't know whether or not, I mean, people could question whether I made the right or wrong decision, but I hopped my ass on a plane and took a. I don't. I would have taken vacation regardless, but I don't know if I would have gone to the part of the country that I went to had it not been for.
Okay. Yeah, we lost him again. Uh, yeah, dude, we lost you. Probably gonna have to do a lot of editing later on. Um, okay, there you are. I think. You there?
I went back in for a minute, but
Okay, now he's gone. I think. Okay, there
oh,
he
there
is.
we
Damn
go.
this damn connection.
This
Anyway,
isn't this isn't working today.
yeah.
Fuck.
So basically, just to sum it up, among other things, 2020 really forced me to re-strategize, regroup. But by no means did it make. And I felt like shit at a lot of times, especially this month. This month's been particularly hard for different reasons that I will leave out. the podcast, personal things. But I will say this: it forced me to do things that I probably would not foresaw myself doing. Um, have some new experiences, take different ventures, take different risks, and I can't say it was all negative. I've got a lot of positive stuff out of
Right.
2020 that I'm going to carry into 2021. Hopefully, we're going to make this podcast a whole lot bigger. You and I have started working on some music, Shaheen, and we're going to strategize on that. And as far as everything else, hopefully that I continue that progression. Was it um, how I saw myself progressing? No, but it did kind of light a fire under my ass to do something.
Mm.
So that's where we're at.
Mhm.
And obviously, like, we really appreciate you sharing, everything you've gone through this year, and also like the years prior with the car accident and your surgeries. I think with 2020, like with a lot of people, I mean, obviously a lot of people died this year because of COVID, and their families are hurting, their friends are hurting, and but I think for a lot of people who haven't been affected by that stuff, like, again, because like I realized, like, knock on wood, like, I don't know anyone who personally was affected by COVID. I know people who got it, but for the most part they were asymptomatic. um they kept their jobs. um but obviously, there, like I said, there are people who died, and even if they didn't die, even if they didn't get the virus, a lot of people lost their jobs, lost their businesses. So for a lot of people, it was shitty. And I realized, like, I'm in a privileged position in my life right now. I think with a lot of people, though, I think what it is like, when you're in, and I know, Finders, you understand because you're in LA, but that feeling when you're in traffic, and that feeling of anger rises, that feeling of it, like, for some reason, some sort of anxiety kicks in, because
Just get agitated.
you just get agitated because you want to get to a certain location at a certain time, but now you're stuck in one little spot and there's nothing you can do. And I think that's what 2020 felt like with for a lot of people, including myself. You feel like there's I felt like there were things with my life, and I've had, I wanted to work on. I feel like there are some personality traits that I wanted to work on, and I couldn't until I go out into the world and work on it. You can't just do that by reading books, right? We talked about that last week. You can't just do that
Mhm.
by watching YouTube videos and reading books. You wanted to go out and do it. You were looking, it was like, if you it's part of our path to become anyone's path to become a king, like, kind of like mentally, it's like you have to keep getting out of your comfort zone. And I think with 2020, one of the reasons why it sucked for a lot of people is because they felt trapped inside of it with no opportunities to get out of it. And I think
Mhm.
that's what kind of sucked for a lot of people this year. uh I
Well, then you
think
got to ask
We're
yourself.
definitely
You got to
blessed.
ask yourself why you're trying to escape yourself, and then that's when it starts.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess. I mean,
Yeah.
like, we talked about that last week with, like, one of the flaws with self improvement is sort of they're in a way teaching you
Oh,
that you're never good enough and you have to keep improving every day. But with that logic, until the end of your life, you'll never be good enough, right? And I think, like,
right.
that's
You
what.
have to improve by your own standards.
Yeah, it's sort of like that saying, like, be happy but not, well, actually, I don't know if that's right either. Uh
Your only competition is yourself. You know,
yeah, absolutely, man,
Yeah.
absolutely.
you set your own standard, whatever it is that makes you happy. And we're definitely blessed. We're definitely blessed because I know even though I went through a lot of shitty stuff, and I'm pretty sure you guys did as well. I see people on my feeds, even if it wasn't from COVID, lost family members
Hmm.
and lost jobs in different situations like you mentioned, and it um it just it puts things in perspective. Yeah, my year was shitty, but people had it a lot worse. And you know,
Absolutely.
regardless of what my situation, and call it blessed, call it privilege, call it whatever, I will personally tell you that I acknowledge it for whatever it is, and because I know that it could be a lot worse, and there are people that have it a lot worse. And to those everybody out there that has been going through it, I get it, man. I get the frustration. I may not be able to walk in some of your shoes, but I've had my own path as well as my co-hosts here that have their path as well, and we've had our own struggles. Everybody's going through something, but you definitely feel what everybody's been going through, especially with social media now, basically putting it in in plain view for us to see in many ways. Because if you notice, a lot of people used to post things on social media. They used to post, "Oh, look at this! I'm posing in front of this. I'm at this club. I'm at this." Now you don't get that as much. You don't get the social media posing. I see a lot less people flashing their bands and instead talking about the crap that they're going through or the protests that are going on in different parts of the world. It's like now we're getting to see it, and even though social media is deceptive, I think we'll begin to see more realism in social media than any period in history before, because now people
Relatively.
don't have, yeah, because a lot of people are now not flashing their materialistic or their fun part of their lives. Yeah, it could be for their own agendas or so forth, but we are kind of seeing the dark side of what's going on out there. And
They're posting less. Well, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I think everyone's experience with social media is like a little bit different. Like I still see people like, just like posting pictures of cars that they don't own, or maybe it's their dad's. Like, or I don't know, man. And like, I think
Posting about how
social.
their baby daddy ain't shit. There's those
that,
still happen, but
the shit's never going to go away. Let's get that straight. It's never going to go away. But I feel like there's been a slight, change in tone to a lot of these posts. But anyway, I mean, the whole point of what I was trying to get across with that is, you know, for everybody that still has their job or that has been fortunate enough to be in a position where they've had help or someone taking care of them, just acknowledge that you're in a blessed position. And if you can, because we all are struggling right now, but if you can, um, just acknowledge that somebody else might be going through it. If you can't help them, just be at least conscious about the fact that they might be struggling with something, and show a bit of understanding and appreciation for what you have.
yep.
Gratitude is key, man. Like, if there's something that's a common theme in any self-help book I've read, it's a theme of gratitude. And it's something that I should probably express more. I think I'd probably be a little bit more happier if I did. And I'm working on that. Like, I'm working on expressing gratitude. uh, so yeah.
That's
Guys,
what
I
we're
think.
all going to do. I
Yeah.
mean, for
Yeah.
2020, 2021 and beyond, I mean, we're all works in progress. I think that's the important thing to realize. We're None of us are completed work. I mean, I think even people who go to the casket sometimes are incomplete. They leave not feeling fulfilled or whole. But the idea is that we're all works in progress. We can all learn more, we can all advance more. We can all do more in 2021, regardless of the situation. That's what we have to try and aspire to do.
For sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And
um
everyone's dealing with shit in their own way. What's most personal is most universal. Just keep an open mind to you don't know what other people have going on in their lives. You know.
Absolutely. So yeah, guys, I think we're going to wrap up this episode. I think tonight we had really bad internet connection. Final thoughts. Like I said, we talked about how we felt about this year. As for next year, um I have some goals in mind that I'm not going to put out in public yet. I don't want to be that guy
Are you
who's like,
starting an OnlyFans?
who told you that?
Wait,
Like, Farnu, should you tell him? It's supposed to be between us, man.
But it's feet pics only,
well,
right? That's what he told me.
Well, he
Picks
signed up
only.
for mine, so he told me
Ah.
he saw your name on there. So
I
I called it. I knew it.
I've been looking into it to see like what the benefits are, how much like the whatever. David
well, I need
Farnoosh.
more money if I'm gonna go ahead and fund my newfound addiction for coke and Persian prostitutes.
Oh, true that, true
Oh
that.
God.
Yes, yeah. As I was saying, I have some goals in mind. I'm not gonna be one of those people. 2021 is gonna be my year, but
Yeah. Nobody say that this year. You do
yeah,
not have 2020 vision this year. Fuck
yeah,
off.
yeah. Well, what I actually did was I wrote shit down, by what I want to accomplish by December 31st of 2021, and
Mhm.
that's just I'm not gonna like jinx it, but I have things I want to accomplish, so I gave myself like a deadline, and I'm working on. I actually do want to spend the next 2 days kind of working on a plan. That being said, you two have your excuse me, your last words, and then we'll wrap, and then we'll say goodbye.
2021 is a year of no expectations. And that's probably the first year I can say that. It will not be a year of expectations for me.
I feel like everybody is like just like on the edge of their seats, just waiting to see like what it's gonna be like. Like they're waiting, like they don't want to judge it until like the first week is over and be like, all right, because remember like the first week of 2020, like everything went wrong, right? Like Trump almost started a war with Iran, and then Iran hit back, and like we were about to like go to war, and then it didn't happen, luckily. And then like a few weeks later, like Kobe Bryant died.
Oh
It was
yeah,
just
that was a
yeah.
big thing out here in LA,
Yeah.
man.
Oh,
And
I
then
bet.
murder hornets, and then COVID, and here we
Oh,
are.
I forgot about the Hornets.
Yeah. It was literally they found like one Japanese hornet somewhere, and then they were like, oh shit, they're here. It's like,
I think that was like in Washington State, right?
yeah. Yeah.
Oh my god. All right. Excuse me, Fanush.
Okay, I I'm making a resolution to sleep with more Persian women, do some more
Hey.
cooking, learn
Okay.
how to hair in and outside the bedroom. No, but no, being serious here.
That's pretty. That's very noble goal. All right.
Yeah.
You're
My goal is to remain a virgin throughout 2021. So there you go.
okay.
Is that
I'm
gonna
gonna, I'm
last
gonna
as long as
maintain it.
people's gym
It's my only
predictions?
expectation.
Is that gonna last as long as people's gyms resolutions every year?
Oh, knowing Keith, yeah.
I've got 28. I've got 28 years down on it so far, so I think I can do it.
No, but
I think I can do it.
I'm not gonna go ahead and tell you it's my year or any of that nonsense. I don't even bother to. I stopped making real resolutions a long time ago because I hate basing necessary change or necessitating a change based on a date in a year. I feel like you should be doing that as soon as you acknowledge it. Why wait till December 31st or January 1st? That's just most people who do that don't end up holding them up anyway. But I will say this 2021
is your year.
I'm just gonna look. I'm just gonna look for the opportunity. You know. If you chose to, or if you, in some cases, if you're able to, even be it something small or something big. So 2021, I'm just gonna look for the opportunities, take more advantage of them, and try and enjoy life a little bit more, and be more um, cognizant and appreciative of things that I do have. And I will say that I will do one thing. I will make more of an effort to build on my interpersonal relationships because I feel like that's also a side effect of 2020. Even though we've been apart, we have been, a lot of us have been trying to connect in different ways. And I've been guilty in the past of not being on top of that, trying to keep in touch with my friends because I've always been grinding here and there and so forth. But I think this year I'm going to make that time. I've already started, but I'm going to transition that in 2021. I really want to take time to check up on everybody, see how they're doing, and just let everybody know that I appreciate having them in my life and what they do for me personally and what they bring to the table in elevating my existence. So, and cut out all the bullshit. So,
For real, for real.
Yep.
That's all. Don't know. Those are definitely great goals to have. Yeah, I think
2021 is the year you make it. There you go.
Yeah, well, I mean, like,
20. I'll rephrase that. It's the year that I make it out of 2020.
no, that's no. Listen, I think Fanush said something interesting about like how people wait till New Year's to like change. I will say this about that is that for some people it's more like it's more like it's a ritualistic kind of thing where they want to like have this type of like ritual in their heads before making that transition to the next year. So I kind of understand it to an extent. You know what I mean?
If they
Yeah.
want to do it, let them do it, but follow
Yeah.
through with it. That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
You don't need to be the gym class hero who goes to LA Fitness for 2 weeks and then suddenly your resolution doesn't matter anymore. Like
Hey,
Yeah.
baby steps. Take it as some people think that they're going to go all out into. That's the thing. At least have whatever your goals are. Be realistic about them.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Even if they're slow.
All right. Well, all right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Happy fucking New Year.
Happy
2020,
fucking
2021,
Western New Year.
2021 will be a good year for you. It'll be a good year for me, Keith, and Farnoosh. And it'll be a great year for the Shaws and Kings podcast. It's going to be tons of action packed conversations, tons of bitches, tons of
Whoa.
tons
Let's
of
be respectful here.
I'm kidding,
on.
but
But we will
Yeah.
have some. We will have some interesting guests.
We're gonna
I will
have
say that.
we're gonna have a lot of Gen Days on the podcast next year.
Woo, some
whoa. Okay. All right, guys.
Oh,
Until next
shit.
time. Peace out.
Peace.